The next obstacle that Lewis must overcome is the notion that we are more than just a stream of sensations and perceptions, volitions and thoughts and desires and conscious states. That behind all of that is a self, is an ego that is the thinker, that the I think presupposes an I that thinks. We saw that people like David Hume and the Buddha have argued otherwise, arguing that all we perceive are our thoughts and experiences, no thinker or experiencer behind it. And Nietzsche and Schopenhauer take that up in their whole philosophy is presupposed in that. But I want you to notice something here. I want you to notice that your experiences have a unity to them that cannot be explained by the unity of the experiences themselves. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean, right now you have, say, 5 senses. You are hearing things. You're hearing my voice. You're also, at the same time, seeing me. And at the same time, maybe you're sitting in a chair and having feelings. And so all of your senses are giving you sensations and perceptions and thoughts that are radically different from each other. So different that there's no necessity that any of the parts of your experience go together in a unified manner at all, do they? In fact, to prove this to you, you can conceive of something like this. You can conceive that there's a person who's having all of your visual experiences but has none of your other senses. All they can do is see, and they're having all of your visual experiences. And you have another person who is having all of your audio experiences, right? All of your experience of hearing, but they have no other senses. They're only hearing what you're hearing. Everything else is different and dead. And you can imagine this for all of your 5 senses, right? So that you have 5 people having a part of your experiences, i.e. experiences that are indiscernible from yours. All of them, therefore, are like a part of you. But in this thought experiment, none of them are having the other experiences, right? Isn't that possible? There's nothing impossible about that, which shows that, therefore, the character of your experience itself, the character of the experienced part of the experience, doesn't necessarily link with any other part. But obviously, there's something about your experiences that are all linked up together so that there's this unity there, what Kant calls the unity of apperception. What is that unity then? Well, it's not on the experience side, right? It can't be found in the conscious states themselves. They're tied together by them all being what? My experiences or your experiences. I can't have your experiences and you can't have my experiences. But what makes my experiences mine isn't the experiences themselves, it's that they're all tied together with the possibility, Kant says, of me saying, I am the one experiencing that. So right now, for example, I just heard someone flushing the toilet in the other room in the building that I'm doing these videos. And that experience of the flushing of the toilet, when I think about it, what I can say is that I heard it, right? That I saw it. I'm having a lot of different visual experiences right now. I see pictures on the wall, I see different colors, I see light shining on the table in front of me that you can't see. And all of these things, each of these experiences are radically different from each other and don't necessarily go together. I could have had different visual experiences. I could have had part of the same experience, but with a different experience visually. All of these don't necessarily go together. How are they all tied together? They're all tied together with the possibility that I can say for each of them that I see it. And so thus, the only thing that gives unity to this cacophony of sensation that we call consciousness is that they're all tied together in being my experiences. That's the only unity that there is to them. But what does it mean to say that the hearing of the toilet flushing and the seeing of this video camera are tied together as mine? Not that they're the same experience. No, they're very different experiences. Well, only in that the same person is experiencing. I am experiencing it. When I say I both see and hear, that is when I say that is my seeing and my hearing. It really means that the same self, the same I, is experiencing it. And so therefore, consciousness itself has a characteristic that requires that there be something different that unifies it in the experiences and the consciousness itself. Consciousness has this unifier that needs to be there, that cannot be in the experiences, but can only be explained by being experiences of the same being, the same experiencer. Therefore, you cannot say just simply thinking occurs. No, thinking just doesn't occur. There has to be someone that thinks. Not as something that you infer by just experiencing thought, but the fact that you are experiencing it, that an experience requires and involves somebody experiencing it. Otherwise, it's like watching a movie on a screen, but there's no projector projecting the movie. That's the Buddhist theory of consciousness, is that all you have is the screen with the images, but nothing projecting it. That's absurd. It's also therefore absurd to think that there could be thoughts and conscious experiences without conscious beings having the experience. So there is a self. There is an I that is different from its experiences. We already realized with Nietzsche and with the Buddha and with Schopenhauer that no experience can take place in a moment. And therefore, if there's an I behind the experience, even the smallest experience, right? The experience that lasts the shortest amount of duration that could still be perceived, still has a length of time to it. And so if every experience requires an I or an experiencer, that I must last over time. Otherwise, there would not be the single experience that it is. So, therefore, it follows that if there is experience, if there is reasoning, and if this reasoning is something that cannot be explained by the total interlocking system of nature, then there are beings, thinkers, I's, selves, you and I, who are not a product of nature. And therefore, we have to ask the question, if we're not products of nature, then what are we? Where did we come from? Or do we exist on our own? Do we have existence in ourselves, as Nietzsche says, where we don't need anything to cause us? So in our next segment, we're going to show how the very existence of rational beings presupposes a supreme reasoner, a supreme eternal reason that we would call God.